Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a great weekend. I'm Colton Bartell here at Suzann's Custom Jewelers here in beautiful Corpus Christi. Um, and we are on episode 15 of Family Jewels, so we're moving right along here. But we've got August coming up, and the August birthdays, the people that are born in August, they're not normally real fond of their birthstone, but we're going to talk a little bit about it because a lot of people are maybe not aware of how pretty this stone really is. So, in case you don't know, if you're not an August baby, then the birthstone for August is Peridot. It's not Peridot, it's Peridot. I know it's spelled that way, but almost everybody mispronounces it at least the first time. But it's actually a beautiful stone. We've used it for a lot of custom pieces, and the people that see the nicer stuff, especially in person, they see the nicer stuff. They don't really realize what they're looking at. Especially you get into like the real high quality, almost like museum quality stuff. That's really impressive. But, the majority of the material that people see, especially advertised for big box stores, stuff like that, it is pretty pale. It's a little bit ugly, I guess you could say. It's kind of a yellow green and not overly attractive. Especially by today's fashion trends and stuff like that. Back in maybe the 70s, that would have been a great color, but now it's maybe a little bit dirty for what people like to use. But it actually is a really beautiful stone, and you can get lots of it in a bunch of different sizes. Not quite as available as what quartz was that we talked about last week, but there's still a lot of it out there, so getting a stone that you want and the size that you want is relatively easy to do. So first off, we're going to talk maybe a little bit about the history of Peridot. So with Peridot, it was discovered a long time ago, centuries ago. Matter of fact, the Egyptians were mining it on an island in, I believe, the Red Sea, and basically they thought it was emerald, and for centuries people thought it was emerald. So there's a lot of these historical finds that have always been known and passed down through the generations, talking about as being emerald when in fact they were actually all peridot. Matter of fact, Cleopatra was supposed to have had a huge collection of emeralds and everything, but now they believe that they were actually peridot. And also in another museum, I believe in Germany, there's some royal jewels and stuff that were supposed to be like 200 karat emeralds, and only recently, maybe in the last 100 years or so, they have recently discovered that they were actually peridot and not emerald. But forever and ever they were believed to be emerald. They were just that nice. And with peridot being its own individual stone, and all these other ones having been discovered before that, they were also called topaz, and they kind of just meandered between a bunch of different groups for a long time. But most commonly they were basically thought of as just a different colored emerald. So once they figured out that, hey, that's not what it is, that kind of changed things quite a bit.
Hello, I'm a little late.
He was discussing more on a private level gems and gemology, so we'll let it slide. But kind of introducing Peridot and talking a little bit about the history of Peridot right now. The Egyptians found it and basically thought it was emerald and used it in a bunch of stuff, and they had to fight off a bunch of snakes on an island to get to it. And
they saw 2 deer run by, so let's call it a peridot. No, that wasn't it. Okay, well, I didn't know the whole story, but
no.
It looks like they spelled it different.
I know. The spelling throws a lot of people off. You know, Peridot and Savorite are probably the two that I think people get really confused with that you might see a little bit more often. You know, there's some other ones like Chalcedony. Not everybody pronounces that right.
Well, I always had
chrysoprase.
I had a problem with amethyst for a long time.
What were you saying?
Well, it just
Amethyst?
you got too many of those consonants or something together. I don't know. It's just that amethyst always kind of threw me. I just said the purple stone for this is back in my younger day when it's like first, second grade. You know, I go amethyst. That doesn't make sense. So this is a purple stone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, everybody's got a problem with something.
I know. Yeah, that's okay. We're getting a little off tangent. We haven't shown them anything yet.
Okay, did you tell them that Peridot is kind of unique in the gem minerals, in that the chemical makeup of
is what causes its color?
Yeah.
And the only way for that stone to form is it's going to have those elements that make it that color?
Yeah.
No, we didn't get to that yet. We were just talking about the
Well, I
the
think
history of
I
it.
think that's really cool because almost everything else, some impurity in the chemical makeup
is what's changing the color, and normally it would maybe be colorless or something else. But Peridot is not one of those. It's because it's what, an iron silicate, basically. I know it's basically a metamorphic rock. We've got our lovely book here so we can reference.
Yeah.
Though this is not Peridot. Don't confuse that. This is tourmaline. We'll get to that later. That's a fun stone though. But no, the Peridot. Let's get to this here. Because I know it is.
You should have done research work ahead of time.
I know.
How come you didn't do that?
Well, I did, and then I forgot, and yeah, it's just all over the place this morning.
If I remember right, I think maybe not the gem form of Peridot is also an indicator that diamonds could be around.
Yes.
Epido part, isn't it a?
I believe so. But I think what's cool with Peridot is they have some fun little inclusions. It's kind of like some of the garnets. You know, you get horsetail inclusions in some of the garnets. But Peridot also has an inclusion that is just specific to Peridot, and it's kind of fun. And you could kind of play.
You don't see it in all of them.
No, you don't see it in all of them, but when you do, it's pretty much a dead giveaway. And, of course, we haven't shown you the stones yet, but I want to show you the picture of the inclusions. And these are called lily pads. Yay!
So
lily
you
pads.
got a green stone with a lily pad in it. It'd be really cool if you had one that's like a frog. You know, like you got amber, you'd like to see a mosquito in it. So you could have a lily pad with a frog.
That would be a real giveaway, wouldn't it? We got frog inclusions in here, so this must be a Peridot.
And it's a really rare one if you got a frog on the lily pad.
Yes, eating a fly.
Yeah, or the mosquito.
Yeah. But the other thing that's cool with Peridot is of all of the stones that are out there, it's one of the few that have actually been found in meteorites. And I actually have a picture of the stone that they cut from the meteorite. So this stone right here.
It's not a real great one.
No,
it's
not
on the milky side.
Yeah, it's not real pretty. But if you're wearing that, how many people can say that? Hey, the Peridot that I've got in my ring,
from outer space.
It's from a meteorite. It's from outer space. So yeah, I mean that rarely happens. There's a few other stones that we've heard of that occur in meteorites that are found on Earth, but not too many of them. The other good thing with Peridot is there's no known treatments for them, so they're always gonna be natural color. I've never heard of them doing synthetics either.
No,
I think they're pretty much all natural. And another thing that's really crazy about Peridot is, we always talk about where all these stones come from, and they're always these far off places that on some maps you may not be able to pronounce, and you probably can't speak the language. But believe it or not, probably at least the top two biggest sources, or one of the top two biggest sources, is Arizona. for
kinda-
calibrated stuff.
It's kind of went away. The other problem gets to be with Peridot, for the most part, none of the crystals get very large, and especially the Arizona material.
Unless you get into like Myanmar or Burma, then you can start getting them to upwards of 200 carats or more. But for the most part, they're all going to be below 10 carats.
And I think, if I remember right, doesn't Afghanistan produce some?
Some, but it's pretty small. Pakistan's
Maybe it's Pakistan.
Pakistan's got some.
Because some of the largest, finest was that 30,000 carats that they found, and they cut it down to.
Yeah, there's
that
some
stuff was like just incredible Peridot. I mean, it
could have easily been confused with emerald in a lot of cases because that green was getting so intense.
Yeah.
And let me show you, because we've got a picture of that too, what that stone can kind of get to. This is very rare color for Peridot, but I mean, we have so many people that complain that, hey, I'm an August baby and I know Peridot is my birthstone, but it's just so ugly. That's ugly? That is beautiful. I'd wear that every day. But it is a little soft. It's on a little bit on the softer side.
That's Pakistan.
Yeah, that one's Pakistan.
Yeah.
And that one's a big stone. That's 172 and a half carats. So that's a nice little.
You might wear it every day, but you might have had to save up every day for a while.
Very, very true. So let's show you a couple of the stones here. We've got a bunch here for you to look at, and we're going to show you maybe a couple of the bigger ones here.
Hopefully we don't get too much reflection.
Well, it's not terrible.
Well, I can see the lights.
I know.
Wait a minute, maybe. Where's that reflecting from?
It's reflecting from way over there. There we go. That's there you go.
Bigger hands.
Yeah,
Here,
well,
just
something.
Pray over the stone.
But yeah, I mean, for the most part, you're gonna have a yellow modifier in it, obviously. But for the most part, I mean, as long as you're not getting the ones that have kind of the browns in them that you're going to see in a lot of the commercial stuff, or a lot of that mass-produced jewelry may have the lower quality stones in it, but they are pretty readily available to find nicer quality Peridot. They're, for the most part, very clean. They don't have a lot of inclusions in them, which is nice. Like I said a little bit ago, they are a little bit soft, so maybe over the course of time, if you're wearing it a ring or something, you might start to notice some abrasion on the top of the stone, some small scratches and stuff.
They're as hard as what amethyst or the quartz is, right?
They're a 6. They're like
a little harder.
No, they're like a 6.5, I think. 6.5 to 7.
So it's
so
about the same.
Yeah, they're about the same. But yeah, it's kind of crazy how these things form. Most of them are going to be found in basically lava flows and stuff like that, ancient lava flows. And I was going back through here and kind of refreshing on this a little bit ahead of time, and picked up on something that I hadn't picked up on before, was that most of this stuff they believe was formed basically whenever the Earth's crusts were kind of shifting, and the plates were kind of, what is that?
Continental drift.
Yeah, the continental drift, and basically like where the ocean floor was basically shifting over itself, that was starting to create these crystals in the process, and it was basically kind of taking the elements that make up this Peridot and putting them all in little pockets. And so you'd get little nodules, kind of like what this is here, where they can actually kind of break those apart a little bit and have gem quality stuff in there. So yeah, we already went with that. She keeps handing us notes over here, but we've already covered those notes, so a little late to the game.
No.
So if she was watching,
we've already discussed the deer.
Yes, we've already discussed that, and we shot that deer down. So yeah.
Well, the other thing, and this is a little bit of a tangent again, but Colton brought up, we have a lot of people that come in that have an August birthday and they complain, well, We got the.
We're sorry you were born in August.
We got Peridot. Well, I think this happened in February, if I remember right. AGTA and I think another one of the, we'll say gem or jewelry spokespeople or whatever has named spinel as an alternative birthstone for August. And
so you have a lot more variety and definitely prettier.
Oh,
there we go.
Sorry about that. I don't know what the deal was, but
Our Wi-Fi's acting up.
is that what it is?
Yeah.
But we have a red spinel, and sometimes these are called flame spinels, and it's more of a trade name, I guess, or whatever.
It won't actually catch you on fire, and well, you can't light a cigar with it.
But they look like they're on fire. This one happens to be almost a pure red, I guess.
Yeah.
So maybe
Shade it.
yeah. So almost looks like ruby.
Here, let's do this.
Actually,
Go ahead and
it's
open it
almost
up.
a little brighter than ruby.
Go ahead and open it up. We're just going to move our little camera here. Not see our flattering side, but...
I don't know, does that, there you go. How about
yeah,
that?
that's a little better.
Really, really pretty stone. So, and spinels are going to come in all colors. Probably the most known about is the red spinel, and I don't.
Some pinks. We've got some pink.
Yeah, and we have one that's kind of an orangey red.
Yep.
Really, really pretty stone. None of these that we have are real big.
But
I think
again, they're not occurring in huge crystals for the most part.
no, but they can get bigger. I think there's possibilities of maybe some of the spinels cutting into, or got a better chance of cutting into larger stones than what some of the rubies are.
Yeah, that's true. And for the most part, they're pretty clean.
Maybe a little crisper colors.
Yeah.
They're a singly refractive stone, so you don't have that. To me, whenever you have a doubly refractive stone, sometimes
You get a little bit of a fuzziness to it, or a little soft.
crisp.
Yeah, it's a little bit softer. Like Peridot is one of those. Peridot is a highly doubly refractive stone. Which, okay, so
Yeah,
to touch on that real quick, we're just going to touch on it real quick.
Okay.
We'll explain it a little bit more later. But doubly refractive means that it's basically got two directions that it's splitting up light. So actually, if you look into the stone, it's like you're looking at something and crossing your eyes. You actually see double of it. And it's basically, when that single beam of light comes in, it's actually splitting it into two different wavelengths. Though it's keeping all that light together, it's directing it in different directions. So you actually start to get a little bit of a, not really a dispersion, but yeah, kind of like that.
The more it's doubly refractive, the more, this would be another term, more birefringence that it has, then that little more of a velvety or a muted, or what happens is you're actually seeing two things. One of them that we get is that's December's birthstone is zircon, blue zircon,
and it's really
highly doubly refractive. You look through that stone, especially in a microscope or with some magnification, and you look at the back facets, you actually see two of those facets, which is even weirder.
So
yet.
this is actually doubling in zircon. So you can actually see where the facets are doubling. These are actually single facets, but you can see that there's two on each one of these. This is what is caused by a doubly refractive stone, especially something that has a high birefringence, which that again is something that we can talk about at a later date, which would be all the technical terms and stuff with gems and mineralogy and things like that. So,
but for all of those
it's
people that their August birthstone that they think that's ugly, but I still think we
options.
I think we could still get you a Peridot that you'd be most amazed at.
Oh yeah, and that people would, it would be a conversation piece. I mean, we can get some stuff that's really, really pretty that, most people expect to see that kind of just ugly yellow, green nastiness.
Well, I don't know that it's all that bad. I mean, especially
The stones that we've got a lot of prettier stones though that are in pretty consistent color.
But
and,
if you don't like that color green, then
Yeah, you
you've
don't like
got
that
a real
color green,
problem
well.
because they only come in that color.
Yeah, there's some browns and stuff out there. They're still gonna have a green modifier to them, but they're really ugly. They're There's just we're
there's
not
some
even gonna
that's really
talk
bad.
about them. They're bad.
No.
Yeah, but Spinel. We were talking about Spinel. So we've got pinks, we've got reds, but they do come in all colors.
And just a little bit more, I know we're getting away from Peridot, but we're kind of talking about August birthstone anyways. And
We're
since it's
going
now
to throw
new-
Spinel in there with it today.
Probably one of the cooler stories that I've been heard, and I'm going to say maybe now it's getting to be a little bit of a myth, maybe, because I'm not sure how much of this. I need to talk to somebody that maybe knows a little bit more, but the crown jewels of England are some of the more famous, and they have some of the bigger, more impressive crowns and tiaras and scepters of any country in the world.
Figures.
They have a crown that has a red stone in the center of this, one of the feature stones of this crown, and it's called the Black Prince Ruby. So I think somewhere in the 50s there was a bunch of gemologists that were invited from the United States to go to England to get a chance to look at the crown jewel. So they went over there and they were measuring things and trying to estimate weights, because I'm sure they weren't going to let them take this stuff out.
No, or wear it.
Yeah.
I'd be wanting to wear the thing.
But just kind of checking things out, and that I don't think that happens very often, because you go look at the crown jewels, they pretty much run you through the Tower of London, because it's not, oh, I want to look at this a little bit longer. It's like you're
Can
on
you take it out of the case? I'd love to try it on.
We've got 10,000 people that want to look at this stuff today, so you've got 2 seconds to look at it. Well,
Yeah,
these
pretty
guys
much.
had a little bit more time. But what ended up happening is the Black Prince Ruby turned out to be a red spinel.
Whoops.
And what I heard is that the England wasn't too thrilled to find out that their Black Prince Ruby was actually a red spinel. But as far as I know, they still call it the Black Prince Ruby. But it's kind of a cabochon.
They don't like a
shape.
lot of change, though.
Well, and I don't know that I blame them. I mean, for the most part, whenever we tell people spinel, they go,
What?
What is that? It's almost like, you got Peridot, and go, oh, that's that crappy green stone. But spinel is actually a beautiful stone. In fact, like if I have this...
It sounds more like a shampoo. Spinel.
Spinel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
And then you look at the way it's spelled, it looks like spinal. That's even worse yet.
yeah.
But anyways, really pretty stone. I think as far as a gem, I think it's a great value, because, you've got, especially in the reds, you've got a stone that's going to rival a ruby as far as color.
And, honestly, a lot of times, especially with this stone, I think the red spinel actually looks better than ruby in most cases. You get into the high-end rubies, I mean, there's just not much that can touch those. But if you're going to get close to it, spinel's going to be the way to go for
Well,
sure.
I guarantee you, I would buy that as ruby.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So,
And pay more than what that one
Yeah.
is for sure.
But okay, so that August bunch, you still have Peridot, but now since February of this year, you have an alternative birthstone,
Yay!
which it's so far away there. What size is that stone? A third?
It's
a half.
Ooh.
But
I feel
as
like
far as an alternative stone, I'm in April.
he has diamond.
And
Sucks to be
I like
him.
my birthstone, but spinel's always been a favorite gemstone, because they seem to be so bright and an intense color, and whatever color that is, it seems to be a really bright, vibrant color.
Yeah. I was just sitting there when we were like holding this up here like that and trying to read the back of it. It's like, are we on like QVC or something right now? We need the little deal up here in the corner that the only 3 available. No, we're not going to do that.
We do
Though.
just have 3.
Well, how about that? But okay, so there is one drawback to the spinel.
What's that?
They make synthetic,
Oh.
and they make a lot of it.
But I don't. Oh yeah, they do red too.
Yeah, they do it in all colors. I think the only blue spinels that I've seen have been synthetic. The great thing is they're pretty easy to spot. They're done the same way that basically a lot of the synthetics are. They're done in the flame fusion process, which if you've seen our, was it our Ruby video that we did a while back, and some of the other ones, it's done in the same process. So they're creating a little boule. They basically cut a little chunk off, and then they facet it. And so
that boule
looks like a bat.
Well, that or some of them like a candlestick.
Yeah, pretty much. But whenever it forms, it's like spinning while it's doing that, and they're just kind of depositing the material on top of it. So it leaves these little rings in there. And the other thing is like, what is it, 99% of the flame fusion stuff, like, highly fluoresces under UV light. I mean, it just lights up like a Christmas tree.
And I don't. Does spinel?
It can fluoresce, but normally it doesn't fluoresce like it does if it's a synthetic. I mean, that synthetic stuff is just, it looks unnatural in every way, shape, and form whenever it's under UV light. It actually looks like there's a special effect going on. It's like pointing a laser into it or something, you know.
And a lot of times, again, especially this blue spinel that Colton's talking about, a lot of times those are large stones.
Yep.
And
they cut them differently too.
A little bit. I mean, if you get a round one though,
that may be a little bit more difficult to tell.
Yeah.
But they're not going to cut the natural stuff very often in round.
No. I mean, can. Get into the larger stuff, the crystal is probably, it crystallizes in the same system that diamond does. Isometric system. So, that crystal is going to lend itself to be, more an oval or a cushion or...
for weight retention purposes, and
then the other thing is you don't want to bleed that color out either.
Yeah. So the more depth you have to look through that stone, and the larger the stone is, the more you can intensify that color. So if it's kind of a pale stone, or if it's pale colored throughout, but it's a large stone, it can actually look more intense when they cut it as a larger stone versus cutting it up into smaller stones. So you're not diluting it, I guess you could say, by cutting it. But back to the synthetics, they're pretty easy for us to spot because, for one, they fluoresce like crazy. That was actually one of our key tests at GIA whenever we were doing our colored stone labs and stuff, was checking under UV light. Let's
get the black light out. Look at our socks.
Yeah, if it lights up like a 1960s poster that's in your basement, it's probably
an old basement, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's probably musty down there. But if it lights up like that, and then when we look through diffuse light in the microscope, which diffuse light's basically we're just putting a little shield over our light that's being transmitted through there so that it's nice and even. But it makes it easier to see into the stone without seeing all the reflections from the facets, basically. So if we see those little rings or those what we call curved striae, curved banding in the stone, we know right off the bat there that it's synthetic. But like you say, on a lot of the larger stones, more unusual colors, they're going to be synthetics. You get into a lot of those synthetics, and especially like old rubies and stuff where they're cut in more of like an emerald shape. They have what's called a scissor cut, which is done by machine. And it's just a different way they put the facets on there, but they only do it on synthetics. And so that's another thing that's kind of a little bit of a giveaway, but it only works for one shape. But,
There's not going to be a lot of stores that carry
spinel at all.
Spinel yet, but where they made this Augustus birthstone, that's probably going to help the popularity of spinel.
Yeah, definitely. Especially we have those ones that are complaining about the color that is Peridot.
No.
Not Peridot. Again, it's Peridot.
So now August does have, I think, one of the prettier birthstones.
It went from one of the ugliest to one of the prettiest in a matter of one decision. I
don't know that October, which that's your birthstone.
Yeah.
October's got a
We've
bunch.
got the best ones. October's. Woo!
Yeah, I don't know about the best ones, but that's a pretty good month.
I mean, April's tough to compete with. I'll give him that. Diamond. But October, we got tourmaline and opal.
Yeah.
So, and we're going to get to that later. We've talked about opal before, but tourmaline, oh, yeah. That may be next week's. We don't know. We shall see.
I think
shall
it'll
see.
be a little later.
But as always, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to give us a call here at Suzann's 361-991-7565 or stop by our store at 4254 South Alameda here in Corpus. We do thank you guys for joining us each week and putting up with us and all of our tangents and shenanigans. Yes, we use shenanigans. So, it's a fun word.
Yeah,
But-
and there's a bunch of weird words in the gem business. I mean,
Like amethyst.
yeah, like amethyst. But whenever you're a little kid, that's kind of, I mean, it's almost like a tongue-tying thing. You look at it and
Thist.
what do you do with that T-H-Y-S-T?
Thist.
This. Well, when I was little, that was a tough one. So, and
We're special.
so we're gonna say goodbye. Sorry I was a little late this morning.
See you next week. Thanks. Bye.